In this video, we're going to be looking at a few easy and simple ways in which we can implement reverbs into our productions. And I'm going to start off by showing you a technique that I like to use every time I make a drum kit or a collection of loops together to make a beat. And this technique is basically a way to make all the sounds in the kit cohesive, so they sound like they're coming from the same room. And to do this, I've just set up a room reverb on a return channel. And we're going to send a signal from the percussion and also a little bit of send from the kick as well. So I'll let you have a quick listen to the dry kit to see what that sounds like. So it sounds great as it is, but it does need to have a little bit more depth and cohesion across the sounds in the mix. And so, like I said, I've got this room reverb set up here. And I've just used Ableton's presets. Never be ashamed to do that. Like, I always just start with a preset and then tweak from there. So I opened up this medium room preset and I just brought down the decay time. So with the decay fully up, I'll show you what that sounds like. So the idea here is to just add a little bit more depth and have quite a short decay time rather than a long one, because you don't want the groove to be lost and everything to get quite mushy. And so yeah, what we're going to do is we're also going to dial in a little bit from the kick as well. And to do this, I usually press solo on the return and just find a nice balance. You don't want the kick all the way up because it kind of swamps it a little bit. Let's just dial a little bit in. So I'd say about there. And the other thing you can play around with as well is pre-delay. So I'll just play around with the pre-delay and show you what that does. That basically, it kind of leaves a few milliseconds or however many milliseconds you want to put in until the reverb actually acts on the dry signal. So if I turn it all the way up, you'll hear what that's doing. Let's have a quick listen to this. There's like a little bit of a delay there. That's quite a nice effect actually. You could get like a nice reverby slapback delay with that. So we'll put it on 0 or 0.50 and I'll just start to bring that up and you can hear what that's doing. For me, it just adds a bit more thickness as well to the sound. So let's have a listen to that all working together and then we'll do a quick A/B. So that's another thing I would do as well. Once you're quite happy with the reverb that you've got, dial it back just a little bit, because this kind of effect, you want it to be more of a felt effect rather than a wet effect. So it's kind of something you feel, it's not prominent. You don't listen to the track and go, oh, that reverb, I can really hear that. It's kind of just a subtle effect which kind of brings all the sounds together and adds a little bit more depth. So the next technique is a similar technique to that one, but instead of applying it to drums, we're going to apply it to a couple of synth sounds. And so with synth sounds, I tend to go for like hall reverbs or plate reverbs. So on this return here, we've got a medium hall set up here. And decay time with synths, I kind of like to boost that a little bit. We don't have such a short decay. Again, you can make choices of that on your own. You can have short decays if you want, or long decays. It's all about trying to get the synths to sound like they're in the same room. So I'll quickly show you the dry synths, and then we'll start to apply a bit of this reverb here. So I'll just turn it up so you can really hear the effect, and then we'll pull it back a little bit like we did before with the drums. Again, it's all about trying to not have it swamp in the mix. So again, we've gone for a short decay time so we don't lose the rhythm and the groove. And also we've dialed back the volume a little bit as well, so it's not swamping it. I mean, like with synths though, you can you can add a little bit more, because sometimes you want an effect, which we're going to show you later with a pad sound, which is to kind of have this nice washy effect of it. But with these two techniques here, we're just trying to kind of like gel the sounds together so they sound like they're in the same room. So this next technique that I want to show you is a way in which you can make short sounds a little bit longer and have a bit more grit and depth to them by adding a reverb. So you can do this with like compressors and saturation and things like that, but this is a really cool technique to use that's a little bit different from doing that. And to do this, we're going to be using Valhalla vintage Verb. So let's just go ahead and listen to the dry snare sound on its own. I'm going to start to dial in this now and we can hear what this is doing. So I've got it set to a plate reverb, and you've got like a selection of different reverb styles here. And I've got the decay quite low at the moment. And we're just going to dial it in, and then we're going to play around with the pre-delay and also the decay as well. And I'll just flick through some of the different modes to get different timbres and different sounds. See, I kind of liked the plate that we started out with, actually, at quite a low setting. So let's hear what that sounds like when we open up the decay a little bit as well. So you can really drag out the decay of the snare, and like I said, add a bit more roughness and a bit more tonality to it, especially with like the Valhalla vintage Verb, because it's got such an old, worn out kind of sound. So in this fourth demonstration, I would like to show you something that I like to apply to pad sounds, which is to add a big long plate reverb or a hall reverb with a long decay. And so for this one, we've got this sound here, which is taken from the Sub-Zero pack. I'll let you have a quick listen to the dry sound. So that's really nice as it is, but what we're going to do is we're going to feed it into this Valhalla vintage reverb again, which we used earlier. So I've got this set to plate once again, and we've got the mix all the way up on the return, and decay is really long this time, so we've got it as 7 seconds. I found that really worked for this sound, so I'll let you have a quick listen to this and we'll dial it in and you can hear what that sounds like. So for me, that just kind of adds like a lot more depth and width and lushness to the sound. And it works great on kind of like long decaying note kind of sounds like pads or long chords and things like that. So that's a really, really nice little technique. And I tend to apply that quite a lot on pad sounds. This last technique is something that I use quite often in my productions as well, which is to use reverbs to create transitional effects and one-shot effects that have long decaying sounds. And what's great about this technique is that you can literally use any percussive sound or any kind of vocal or anything like that within the mix. You can take existing sounds from your drum kit and use them, or you can literally just drag random samples out of packs, which I did earlier with the Carbon pack. I just flicked through and grabbed a couple of sounds over, and they all just worked really well. So what we've done here on return channel D, we've set up a reverb here, but we've got a really, really, really long decay time of 12 seconds. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn up this send, and we're just going to push the sample hits through into that reverb, and you'll hear what I'm getting at here. So actually, first what we'll do is we'll show you the dry sounds. So yeah, just really simple percussion sounds, and once I turn this up, you'll hear what kind of difference that makes, and how you'll hear straight away how you would be able to utilize that in an arrangement. I'll tell you what, we'll play that with the drums just to give it a bit of context. So that's 5 really easy and simple effective techniques that I like to use in my own productions when trying to utilize reverbs. And next, I'd like to know what reverbs do you guys use in your productions, and do you use specific styles of reverb for certain sounds? Like for instance, I use the room for drums. Do you use a plate for your drums? Do you use a plate for synth sounds, or do you use rooms? Do you use different reverbs for each individual sound to give it a certain sound signature and tonality in the mix? I would love to hear these things. I'd love to know what you guys do to get the best results. And please let us know by dropping us a comment in the comment section below, and I can't wait to check those out. Thank you very much. I'll catch you next time.